Hello everybody! If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 457, The Mysterious Disappearance of Emily Wilson, Part 2, Intermediate. Detective Jameson couldn't shake off the feeling that there was more to Emily's story than what she had initially revealed. He decided to pay another visit to her, this time with a more pressing question on his mind. "Emily, I need to ask you something," he said, his voice firm but gentle. "You told me that Dr. Lee was behind the sinister plot, but what about Alex? He was your boyfriend, and he seemed shaken when I spoke to him. Do you think he was involved?" Emily looked up, her eyes locking onto Jameson's. "Alex? No, he had nothing to do with it. He was just a pawn in Dr. Lee's game." "A pawn?" Jameson repeated, his curiosity piqued. "What do you mean?" Emily took a deep breath before continuing. "Dr. Lee had been using Alex to get to me. He knew that Alex and I were close, and he used that to his advantage. He would often ask Alex to pick me up from work or to drive me to appointments. It was all part of his plan to keep an eye on me." Jameson's eyes widened as the pieces fell into place. "And what about the cryptic message on your phone? Was that part of the plan too?" Emily nodded. "Yes, it was. Dr. Lee wanted to make it seem like I was in danger, so that Alex would be more willing to do his bidding. But I was on to him, and I knew that I had to get out of there before it was too late." Jameson's expression turned grim. "And what about the hospital? What was Dr. Lee's plan for that?" Emily's voice dropped to a whisper. "He was embezzling funds from the hospital, using the money to cover up his own crimes. He had a network of corrupt doctors and nurses who were helping him, and they were all in on the plot together." Jameson's eyes narrowed. "What about the mysterious deaths? Were those part of the plan too?" Emily nodded again. "Yes, they were. Dr. Lee was using the hospital to dispose of his enemies, people who had discovered his scheme and were threatening to expose him. He would make it look like accidents or natural causes, but it was all part of his plan to cover his tracks." Jameson's face was set in a determined expression. "We'll get to the bottom of this, Emily. I promise you that." With Emily's help, Jameson was able to gather enough evidence to take down Dr. Lee and his network of corrupt accomplices. The hospital was shut down, and the corrupt doctors and nurses were arrested and charged with their crimes. As for Alex, he was cleared of any wrongdoing and was able to move on with his life. He and Emily eventually reunited, and they were able to start anew, free from the shadow of Dr. Lee's sinister plot. Jameson's case was closed, but he knew that there were still many more cases out there waiting to be solved. He was proud of the work he had done, and he knew that he had made a difference. Epilogue. It's been a year since the events at the hospital, and Emily and Alex are living happily together. They've started a new life, free from the trauma of the past. Emily has started a new job, and Alex has gone back to school to pursue his dreams. Detective Jameson has moved on to a new case, one that will test his skills and his determination. But he knows that he has the skills and the experience to take on whatever comes his way. As for Dr. Lee, he's serving a life sentence in prison, a reminder to all of the consequences of his actions. His sinister plot may have been foiled, but the damage had already been done. The hospital was left in shambles, and the lives of many people were forever changed. But in the end, justice had been served, and the truth had been revealed. Vocabulary notes. Pawn, noun. Definition: a person who is used by someone else for their own advantage or benefit. Example: Dr. Lee had been using Alex to get to Emily. He knew that Alex and I were close, and he used that to his advantage. He would often ask Alex to pick me up from work or to drive me to appointments. It was all part of his plan to keep an eye on me. Similar words: tool, instrument, dupe. Cryptic, adjective, definition, difficult to understand or interpret, often intentionally obscure. Example: the cryptic message on Emily's phone read, "I'm in danger, help me." Similar words: mysterious, obscure, enigmatic. Embezzling, verb, definition, stealing or misusing money or property that has been entrusted to one's care. Example: Dr. Lee was embezzling funds from the hospital, using the money to cover up his own crimes. Similar words: stealing, misusing, corrupting. Accomplices, noun, definition, people who help someone else to commit a crime or do something wrong. Example: Dr. Lee had a network of corrupt doctors and nurses who were helping him. They were all in on the plot together. Similar words: conspirators, collaborators, cohorts. Sinister, adjective, definition, giving an impression of evil or wrongdoing. Example: Dr. Lee's sinister plot may have been foiled, but the damage had already been done. Similar words: evil, wicked, malevolent. Trauma, noun, definition, a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. Example: Emily and Alex were able to start anew, free from the trauma of the past. Similar words: distress, suffering, hardship. Determination, noun, definition, a firm decision or intention to do something. Example: Detective Jameson was determined to get to the bottom of the case. Similar words: resolve, intention, purpose. Consequences, noun, definition, the results or effects of something. Example: the damage had already been done. The hospital was left in shambles, and the lives of many people were forever changed. Similar words: effects, outcomes, repercussions. Justice, noun, definition, the fair and proper administration of the law. Example: justice had been served and the truth had been revealed. Similar words: fairness, equality, morality. Revelation, noun, definition, the act of discovering or revealing something new or surprising. Example: the truth had been revealed and a sinister plot had been exposed. Similar words: discovery, exposure, disclosure. Story written by Leo AI. Image created by Grok 3 AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you.